Our coverage of the 2022 NFL Draft presented by Bono's Barbecue. The Jaguars have 2 picks in the 3rd round. First of all, 65th overall, center and guard Luke Fortner from Kentucky. 6'4", 307. He was a left guard 2 seasons ago, for a couple years, in fact, and then last year switched over to center, a first-team All-SEC selection a year ago. And then at 70th overall, the Jaguars go back to defense, and they get another linebacker, Chad Muma from Wyoming, 3rd-team All-American, 1st-team All-Conference a year ago, a finalist for the Butkus Award. And welcome into our coverage on Jaguars.com. JP Shadrick, Bucky Brooks, John Oehser. Let's start off with Luke Fortner, offensive lineman. We know Brandon Linder retired, of course. They've re-signed Tyler Shatley at the center position. You got to have enough bodies to snap the football, Bucky, and that's one of these guys that can do it.
He absolutely can do it, and he's tough. He's scrappy on the inside. He's a guy that's going to give you a hard day's work on the interior. He's not necessarily the best athlete when it comes to being able to move around, but if you allow him to play in the phone booth, he certainly can win. And so when you think about the best pivots, the best centers in the game, they're guys who have high IQs because they're able to line everybody up, but they also can scrap when they need to. He can scrap inside.
Yeah, Howard Mudd, the great late offensive line coach of the Indianapolis Colts, once told me, John, because that was my name, you've got to have 3 guys who can snap. And I thought they only really had one in Shatley. Casey McDermott was there. Probably weren't going to use him extensively if there was an injury. Needed somebody else who could snap. This kid played 2 seasons at guard Kentucky and then started center this past season. Fits that bill of somebody besides Shatley who can do both inside guard and center.
Let's go out in the hallway outside the draft room, and Ashlyn Sullivan has a special guest. Ashlyn?
We are here with offensive line coach Phil Rauscher, and the Jaguars just drafted Luke Fortner. And what do you know about this prospect? You just told me I really like this guy.
I really do. You know, I went out there and visited him at his pro day in Kentucky and really had a connection with him. I think he's an excellent football player, and he'll add a lot to the group that we already have going with us. And it's really exciting for the Jaguar family to bring in a guy like Luke to help us. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited.
And General Manager Trent Baalke told us today with the versatility and the aggressiveness of this division, it all starts with the offensive line. How do you feel about this depth right now?
I feel great about the group we have right now. There's always room to grow, and there's always a place for new players to come and add to the group. But right now what we have after going through veteran minicamp, it's a group to be excited about. I mean, I think we're going to have a great job running the football, protecting Trevor, and just getting after people.
Yeah, you mentioned protecting Trevor, this pre-draft process. How many times did that come up? We got to get Trevor more protection.
It came up, and it's important. Like my job in life is to protect Trevor. I mean, that's what my purpose is. So, you know, the more guys we can help get those that type of player to come help with that is critical. But Trevor's an elite player, and we got to get him protection so he can get the ball down the field. Nothing good happens when he's on his back. So we want to make sure that we get the best group of 5 guys out there to get the ball up in the air.
Love it. Thank you, Coach.
No problem.
Back to you, JP.
All right, Ashlyn, thank you very much. Certainly, that's the line of the day so far. My job in life is to protect Trevor.
He must be seeing him in his dreams.
I think so, right? So all the help is needed, and they're adding to that offensive line with Luke Fortner from Kentucky. Let's discuss the 70th overall pick now. Linebacker Chad Muma from Wyoming. Well, of course, earlier in the draft last night, they go Devin Lloyd out of Utah. They get Foye Oluokun in free agency. Here comes Muma from Wyoming, a guy who's put up some big-time numbers for the Cowboys.
I wanted to go first here because I'm pretty sure Bucky is going to gush because that's what he was doing during the break. It seems to me the theme is clear, though. At linebacker, you drafted 2 guys in Lloyd and Muma who are both playmakers. They've shown it. They produce. There are GMs, and Trent Baalke is shown he's one of them, that believe at that spot you need to have a guy who has been productive making tackles and who's shown he can do it. Both of these guys, I don't say carbon copy, but that's certainly a theme there, Bucky.
Yeah, it is absolutely a theme, and it's really important. This is a guy that's one of my favorites in the draft class. So we end up getting 2 guys that are outstanding. Devin Lloyd and Chad Muma would be a nice tandem, being able to hit, run, and chase. They can do a bunch of different things. Muma's a little different because he's a guy who actually can play in coverage. He has safety-like ability when it comes to being able to run and chase and cover. When you watch him on tape, he gets his hands on the ball a ton. He's an outstanding tackler. He has 2 pick sixes on the season. And so you talk about the production. Anytime you average almost 12 tackles per game, you are always around the ball, particularly when you're playing for a good team.
No doubt.
Now, does safety can that translate and take the like off and play safety, or is he a linebacker?
No, he's a linebacker, but he has safety skills. I think in his high school past, he was a safety. So that brings a level of athleticism to the position that certainly bodes well. And now what you're doing, because I'm seeing like people saying, well, this wasn't a need because you got Devin Lloyd. It doesn't matter. You take good players and you find a way to figure them out. And so the way the game is now with 7% of the game in nickel, you can create a variety of different 5 defensive back packages with 3 linebackers, 2 linebackers on the field, whatever you want. But you got really good players. You can continue to add to the puzzle.
And you've talked a lot about the Todd Bowles defense, which is what this defense is going to start to look like. Could fool you, could scheme you, could do different things. Are the 2 selections of these linebackers, do they fit into that concept that you've been talking about?
Yeah, I think they're both great fits into that concept because a lot of it is about being multiple. And we talk about being multiple. How many different ways do we want to attack with 5 DBs on the field? Do you want to have a 3-3-5 front? Do we want to have a 4-2-5 front? Do we maybe want to put 2 D linemen and 4 linebackers on the field and do some different things? The more athletes that you have, the harder it is for the offense to pick it up, particularly when you got multiple guys that can blitz, multiple guys that can drop into coverage. It just adds more tools to the tool belt for Mike Caldwell.
Jaguars have a couple of picks in the 3rd round. Luke Fortner, the center and guard from Kentucky, and then Chad Muma, the linebacker from Wyoming. The next Jaguars pick, well, right now would be tomorrow in the 5th round at pick 14 in that round, 157th overall. You know, we talked about moving up and all that stuff. It hasn't happened today for the Jags, and then it feels like with 3 6th-round picks and a 5th-round pick, it'd be difficult to move back into the 3rd round today, right?
It'd be a real Hail Mary. I mean, I'm not sure you have enough ammo to get into the 3rd again, do you, Buck?
No, I don't think so. And it just depends on like who is the player that they will be targeting. The one area that we haven't addressed to this point has been the speed wide receiver. Is there a speed wide receiver that falls to them or that they're intrigued by? Or maybe they feel good about the guys that they currently have. But right now, I would say when you look at the totality of what they've assembled, I think it's been a really solid draft for the Jags.
Yeah, I'm not a big draft for need guy, but in this day and age, how teams draft, it can't help but tell you something about how they feel about the roster. I think on Wednesday, I don't know that we knew exactly in great detail how they felt about their wide receivers, maybe how they felt about their running back position. I think we're learning a little bit. I still think running back's going to be on the table because in this day and age, you can get that in the picks that they have tomorrow. But they certainly showed us that I believed that they were going to go out and find a draft and develop guy at a wide receiver earlier in the draft. That was just my thought. They have shown that they believe in the wide receivers they have on the roster. And, Bucky, I think that speaks to the point you made a couple times on our air. Doug Peterson believes out of that Andy Reid tree that you can win and get production, not necessarily out of 1st round, quote, big name players. I think we're seeing that play out, which you've talked about.
Yeah, no, you are seeing it play. Like the system will make the game very, very easy for the quarterback, and that will make the game easy for the wide receiver. And the better the quarterback, the easier the game. The more the production will come from the wide receivers. I think you are seeing the way that they have been able to kind of build the wide receiver core right now as is present constructed. Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Marvin Jones, and then you have Evan Ingram. That is a nice 11 personnel package. You can find a way to move the ball with those guys. I am just saying from a big play standpoint, you would like to have more speed, but they certainly can get it done with what they have.
Well, in the reality, JP, you know, I get that we want to spin everything positive. You can't get big time at every position in one off season. I mean, there's not the equity to make bold move. I think the wide receivers on this team are going to be a big improvement from last year. But you can't go get elite at every spot. There's only so much equity you have in the offseason. I think at some point in the foreseeable future, a couple off seasons, they will do what we're talking about. It feels like that wide receiver develop guy wasn't something they could realistically get to with the picks they had.
Let's rewind to 2014. In the 3rd round, the Jaguars selected center Brandon Linder from the University of Miami. Tonight, in the 3rd round, or a little earlier in the 3rd round, a lot earlier, they select guard center Luke Fortner from Kentucky. We mentioned Tyler Shatley's been re-signed, extended here. He's been here for a long time. What does that mean for him? What does that mean for the interior of the offensive line, at least on paper, you think, guys, going into the offseason program?
Well, I'll let Bucky speak to this as well. I think realistically with Shatley, he's in his 9th year, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Going in, I think he is a guy, I wrote it multiple times leading to the draft. His presence meant that they didn't have to go trade and move up for a center. But I think he's still comfortable there, and I think you'll see competition between those two guys in training camp.
More on this coming up. Of course, the Jaguars have 2 picks in the 3rd round. They've selected Luke Fortner from Kentucky, the offensive lineman, linebacker Chad Muma from Wyoming, and the press conference coming up in just a moment down the hall here at TIAA Bank Field. We'll hear from some of the Jaguars brass to discuss the latest selections, and here we are.
After taking one, was his value that much better than anything else that was out there?
Well, I don't think he was highly rated on our board, for one. He fits the culture we're trying to build. I don't think he can ever have enough good linebackers. He's a green dot guy. He can run the defense. He's a really good special teams player as well. There's just a lot to like.
As a follow-up, did you feel like you did this at the expense of sacrificing a significant need elsewhere, or was this guy's value just that much more than anything else you could have gotten for?
Well, I think a couple, again, not to repeat myself, Gene, but a very good value at that point in the draft, a guy that we had high on our board that plays the game that we want to play, plays it physical. He can play on all 4 downs. And again, when you say we're overloaded at linebacker, you're only one play away from being down a linebacker. And as we've seen through the years, that's a position where, knock on wood, you sometimes lose some guys. So very confident that he's going to come in and be a big part of this program.
For both of you guys, what did you like about Luke Fortner, and do you like him center, guard? He's got obviously experience at both, but what'd you like about Fortner?
There's a lot to like about Luke. One, when you meet this kid, he's wired the right way. We do like him at center, but he has the position flex to move to guard as well, which again, the position versatility is really good, for us. And gives us the depth at the position. It gives great competition there. He's a guy that when you watch him on film, he can do everything that we do in our offense in the run game. Whether he's reaching a 3 technique or climbing to the second level, he's got the ability to do that. He can redirect, and just a really good fit for our offensive line in that room.
A couple of guys, both guys have mechanical engineering degrees, so if nothing else, they can come and do your home stereo systems or something like that.
We are building a new building.
Yeah, exactly. Doug, on Fortner, do you have a particular position that you want him to come out day one to be in, or are you going to fiddle around a little bit and see?
Well, again, it kind of goes back to Trayvon and Devin and the guys we take. I mean, obviously, we took him as a center, and he'll obviously play that position. But, again, we'll move him around too. We'll allow him to play some guard and just let him get comfortable with the offensive line. And being able to get them in here in a couple of weeks, with our rookie mini camp, we can start that process with these guys and really see where they can best suit us. But right now we'll have him in there, competing at the center spot.
When you get to a point with Muma and he's still on your board with such a high value, is the conversation, he's just so good a value for us, we'll just take him and figure out how we can get all those linebackers on the field at the same time? Or do you sit there and say, well, how are we going to use him, and have that discussion then?
Well, really, that's how they fit into the system and how much they're going to be used and what packages they're going to be used on. That's up to Coach Caldwell and the defensive coaching staff. I know special teams-wise, he's going to fit in day one, and then you grow your role from there. All these guys got to come in and earn we got some guys that are here also that are competing for these jobs. So it's not like they come in and they get a job, a role given to them. They got to go earn it. But again, we're very confident that at that value, it was a pick that we just felt we needed to make.
Doug, when Tampa won the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, Caldwell was there. I mean, that linebacking crew was terrific. When he first came in, did he kind of emphasize, hey, I just watched this happen? I'm sure you want to be good at every position, right, every level, but is there a little extra emphasis in his system on the linebacker play with what you guys have now done?
Well, again, there's versatility with the number of linebackers that you do have. I think as Trent alluded to, the depth that you have allows for the use of special teams, right? And the value that we place on special teams. That's the third element of what we do: offense, defense, and special teams. And so, having guys now that are, sort of the great athletes, but they're kind of the high-speed internet guys. They can process when things are moving extremely fast with the way offenses are designed and moving, pieces nowadays, that now they can process that and being able to even have as we go, if it's a rotating basis or whatnot, and if a guy goes down, we can plug and play. But that's the versatility of having linebackers that can play left and right. They don't have to switch, they don't have to flip, and they can process the information that is presented in front of them.
Trent, one more if you don't mind. As you look at this now, lay this out from free agency to what you currently already had and now what you started to do this weekend, do you see some more glaring needs, or is this now the rest of the way, hey, we just want to take it as our board is ranked and we'll see where it fits and how it plays out?
I think we're at a point, and we always look at value. You're not going to take a player you got rated 3 rounds later just because you feel you have a need there. Iron sharpens iron, so there's nothing wrong with getting really good in one room. It's a lot better than getting average in another room. That's how we look at it and how we look at building the 53. And we have a lot of discussions with the staff on this very thing. It's easy to look and say you need somebody, but that person could get hurt and you're back to square one. It's far better off, in my experiences anyway, to build the rooms as strong as you can, get as much competition as in those rooms as you can possibly get, because that makes that room that much better. So we're going to continue to do that if we can address needs along the way. And you always have needs. You never go into any part of the process and say we don't have any needs. There's always needs to address, but we're going to take the best player available, and when a need crosses over that, we'll connect the dots. But otherwise, we're going to take the best player.
Trent, with some of the remaining draft capital that you do have in the 5th, 6th, and 7th rounds, was there any consideration, as the draft was maybe somewhere in the 50s, to possibly moving up to maybe address something else other than linebacker? Or, and if you could also, has receiver availability not met the value for you so far?
Well, I mean, the answer to your question, first part of it is no, we didn't look at moving up. We felt we could get the players that we were targeting where we got them, and we were able to do that. So it's not to say we didn't have any interest in the wide receiver position, but the way the board fell, we just weren't there yet. There's still guys on the board that we really like, and if they fall to the right round or the right spot for us, we'll address that.
Coach Rauscher just told us on Jaguars.com that his main job in life is to protect Trevor Lawrence. The pre-draft, the conversations, how much a priority was that?
Phil personally wants to protect Trevor. We're in trouble.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah. He takes pride, obviously, in what he does, and it's the reason why I brought him in, to coach the offensive line. And, he's obviously excited to get Luke in there. He's also excited with the guys that we have, and with obviously, you look at Cam, you look at, Barch, you look at, Shatley, you look at Scherf and, Juwan and Walker and these guys that have been working here, this past week. And now we just add, a little more value and depth at these positions. I know he's fired up, and to have player versatility, meaning you can move guys around, having swing tackles, having swing guards to center, just gives you a lot of versatility as an offensive line. And then, when you go into game day, having 8 guys available for you, it's just I don't want to say it's easier, but it does make life a little simpler when you got guys that can play multiple spots, and I know he's fired up for that.
For Trent, without giving away too much, how impactful was that skill player run, in the 45 to 50s range, just to what you guys were kind of planning to do at 65?
Well, again, I mean, when you're sitting at 65 and you're in the mid 40s and early 50s, you're really not thinking, what's happening and where you're going to go, because there's still 15, 16, 17, whatever, well, up to 20 guys that got to come off the board yet before you pick. We just didn't feel like we needed to give up more capital to move up. We felt, again, very confident in how the board was falling, that there would be 2 very good players at 65 and 70. We did look at some opportunities to even move back, but those didn't materialize, and we were confident and very comfortable making the picks that we made at the time we made them.
And then for Doug, obviously, this offseason, all the pro days and everything, Phil was pretty, well-traveled, was able to see a lot of guys in person. Just, how important was that, just be able to get him having such a close evaluation on some of these guys like Luke?
Yeah, it's great for him. It's great for all the guys, all the coaches that got out on the road, along with our scouts and working together. It's part of the process here. And Phil did see a lot of guys, and evaluated a lot of guys. And, it was for a reason, obviously, to gather as much information as he could and we could, for this moment now.
Trent, when you look at what you've done the last year and this year to address defensive holes, how confident are you that defense will be able to take another big step and really be maybe even a player in the AFC?
Well, we obviously feel good about the moves we've made. Now we got to put it all together, and these guys got to come in, they got to gel. There's a lot of work to be done. The communication aspect of it, getting guys on the same page, playing together, all that factors in. But, we're comfortable. But there's still work to be done, and we're going to continue to try to build these rooms and make them as strong as we can possibly make them.
I didn't want to give him credit for last year.
Why not?
What'd I do? What'd I do last year?
He said we when I said.
He shot like a 68 on the golf course last year. I give him credit for that. I'll ask you both this question individually. At this current juncture,
who gets to answer it first?
Whichever one of you would like to.
Okay.
It's a team sport, right?
Go
it's
first.
we. It's we. Kind of building off Ashland's question about confidence in the offensive line. At this current juncture, how confident are you in the weapons that you have assembled for Trevor in the receiving game?
Is that an O-line question?
No, weapons.
question?
Wide
A
receiver,
tight end
tight ends, running backs in the receiving game. How confident are you in where that currently stands at this juncture?
I'm encouraged by it. Having these last 3 days, with our guys doing what we did and just watching them. Trent just said it a few minutes ago. I mean, we're not where we need to be, obviously, and we have a lot of football ahead of us to get done, prepared for the regular season. But I'm encouraged by what I saw. We have obviously some veteran leadership out there. With guys like Christian and Zay and Marvin and those guys and LaVisca and then we've got some younger guys that are also competing as well. And so I was really encouraged to see these guys really take from the classroom to the field and retain the information. That's a really good start, and it's a really good indicator to the things that we can do moving forward.
Well, if he's encouraged, I'm encouraged. No, I roger that with exactly what he said. I do believe that, again, we're going to continue to look at ways to build and make these rooms as competitive as we can make them, but we're trending the right direction.
I know you talked a few minutes ago about, possibly even looking to move back or just watching how the board fell. But when you go that long, no second-round pick, is there any part of you that's antsy, that you have to kind of make sure you don't jump the gun a little bit, you know what I mean, when you go that long without picks, not having a second-round pick?
Yeah, You do, and we talked about it, and really both decisions came down to the wire on whether we were going to trade back or not trade back. And, I've just always been a firm believer, if there's a guy there that you like, take him. You never go wrong making a solid pick. If you believe in the player and you got him on the board in a position where you would take him, then take him. If you don't trust the board, it's hard to be confident as you move through the draft. We put a lot of time into putting that board together. The coaching staff, the personnel staff. So when we get to the draft, we're not wavering. We've done all the work.
No, I mean, you're sitting there watching some, obviously good players come off the board, but that's part of this process too, right? It's part of the draft, and I'm like Trent. You always, pick the best one at that spot for you, and you go with that, and you trust it, and you got to trust what we've done, and what the scouts have done, and that's how you build it, and then you have to trust it, and you believe in it, and. Just like we did, last night, we were able to move up to get Devin, and it was a good player right there, and we made that decision to do that, and we did it together. So we have several picks left, and there's still some good players there.
For both of you guys, what was it like today having Trayvon and his family in the building and getting to know him a little bit more and the people that are so important to him?
Yeah, I mean it's exciting. It's exciting for us, obviously, and I know it is for him. And he's just ready to get to work. And you kind of have to, kind of pump the brakes a little bit because we got a couple weeks before we get him in here and get him going. But it was just a thrill. I mean, he's excited. We're excited. Obviously, the staff's excited. Building's excited. With the picks that with Trayvon and obviously get a chance to meet Devin tomorrow. So just looking forward to getting these guys on the field.
Doug and/or Trent, how foreign are some of the outside conversations of we've got to do this for Trevor, or we've got to do this because Doug's an offensive guy? Are those conversations here internally at all, or are those just kind of things that manifest itself outside of the building?
I can say this, the thing that I appreciate from a personnel perspective is that even though Doug is an offensive head coach per se, he's the head coach, and he's as much for the defense and special teams as you saw with the last pick we made as he is for the offense. This is a team sport. You win with 53 strong, and you're trying to build the strongest 53-man roster you can. So having said that, it's comforting for me to know that we're not going to concentrate on any one position or any one side of the ball. We're going to go after the best players. Who makes this team the strongest? And that's comforting from a personnel perspective.
For Doug, just what did you see on
Why
film?
does he get the last one?
Well, either one of you guys can answer this. What did you see on film from Chad Muma, and what does he sort of bring to your team in terms of versatility, what you guys can do at other linebacker positions?
Well, a couple things that jump out to you is his ability to run, his physicality also, and had a chance to, really kind of visit with this guy and have a start building a relationship and all of that with him, and and just also his value, just his character, who he is as a person, and how he's going to fit into the room, and talking to him again tonight, just how excited he is, But this is a guy that's going to bring great competition, obviously, in that room. Going to give us depth in that room. He's going to be a good special teams player for us, and again, just looking forward to getting these guys out here.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. We'll have Luke and Chad on Zoom shortly.
There you have it, the comments of Doug Peterson and Trent Baalke after the selections in the third round. Luke Fortner, the offensive lineman from Kentucky, linebacker Chad Muma from Wyoming, J.P. Shadrick, John Oehser, Bucky Brooks. Glad you're along with us on Jaguars.com and the Jags social media channels live in the third round here. And, they thought about moving up, but not really that hard. They really thought about moving down a couple times, but as Trent Baalke said, if the player's there, you like the player, you trust the board, you pick the player. There's never anything wrong with that.
Well, the most interesting thing at the press conference was, and believe me, I've been in that situation, and you're trying to get an answer from somebody. But the constant questions about, well, why did you take a linebacker? Well, last I checked, this team doesn't have Carl Banks, Lawrence Taylor. I mean, there are spots at linebacker where they're good, but they don't go 7 or 8 or 9 deep. And I think it was Trent who made the point, you're one player away, and right now they have 2 starters, and they have Shaq Quarterman and Chappelle Russell behind them. Adding one more to that group gives you another special teams guy, gives you a linebacker who you like there. They're building up a part of the defense that they're overturning this offseason. They let their 2 starters go. They're rebuilding that room, and they've done it through the draft and free agency.
Look, last year the Dallas Cowboys took Micah Parsons, even though they had 2 Pro Bowl linebackers still in the room. The Jaguars don't have Pro Bowl linebackers that are established in the room, and what you want to do is you want to increase the talent and the athleticism on that second level. The other thing that happens is the reason why you want to invest in linebackers is because the linebackers typically comprise your special teams units. And so you're not necessarily asking Devin Lloyd to go down and run on kicks, but Chad Moon would be a guy who has to play on the special teams units. And so being able to have more dynamic athletes not only helps the second part of your defense, but it helps the kicking game. And if we think about the 3 phases and how you need to win 2 of those 3 to win games, it's important. And that's why they were emphasizing 4 down players, 3 of your regular defensive downs, and he will play a big role on the special teams units.
And when people look at a team and think, okay, is that team athletic? Is it fast? I don't know what these guys 40 times were, but it sounds like the players they've added play football fast. They haven't really done that here the last couple of years. So if you're adding a couple of guys on the linebacker level who play the game fast and aggressively in the manner you want to play, I'm not sure you can add too many of that to this franchise right now.
Muma 4.6340, by the way. If you're into numbers, since you asked.
I mean, he plays fast. That's fast enough. That's fast enough for linebackers. I know we get dazzled by 4.4s and those things, but he's a really good football player. He's a very instinctive player. He has special teams ability, which is critical, and he is going to fill a role. You heard Trent Baalke point out about he's a green dot player, meaning in their mind they believe he's a guy that can call the defense. There's a skill to being able to process it, communicate it, get everyone lined up. You can never have enough traffic cops available, and so that's a huge asset.
There's been a conversation around here the last few years with Miles Jack, wearing the green dot, not wearing the green dot. We know all about that.
I've heard more about the green dot in the last couple of years than I ever have in my life.
Right. Now, if you don't know about it by now, you might not ever know. So the Jaguars have added 2 third-round picks. Luke Fortner, offensive lineman from Kentucky, linebacker Chad Muma from Wyoming. There you see it on your screen, what they have so far. And doesn't look like they're going to trade back into the 3rd round. You never know. That's what they have left on the docket for tomorrow, though. A 5th rounder, 3 6th-round picks, and 2 7th-round picks. Coming up, continued coverage of the 3rd-round selections on Jaguars.com. In a little bit, the press conferences for both players expected. Thanks to our entire crew, and thank you for watching. The Jaguars have Luke Fortner and Chad Muma in the 3rd round of the 2022 NFL Draft.